Hello and welcome to the final round of the Club 100 Esports League. As you can see, leading championship with 4 points over Nathan Maximin, which is not enough ideally. I'd like a bit more. But heading into Brands, which I'm okay at, roughly. Also in the team's championship, BB Racing's my team and SR Down is Nathan's team. So 8 points between us there. It's going to be very, very close. But yeah, as I said, round 1 at Brands, race 1 at Brands, in the group for Aston, trusty Aston, and we've actually found ourselves behind Nathan here. Not trying to play games, just was finding a bit of space on track after I mucked up a lap, and also allowed me to watch him do these ridiculous lines into the final corner, which are just outrageous really. How do you go on the grass into the final corner? I do not know. But at the moment, as you can see, I'm on pole. But we need to do better than that really. A low 28 is what we need. So this is going to be my fast lap. As you see, Nathan's hit the grass, that's good for me. I know he won't improve in this lap. But then I hit the gravel here, just so close to losing it. Braking under the bridge, holding it tight, veering off the corner because the Aston understeers quite a bit. Down into Graham Hill, trying to carry as much speed through and use all the curb on the exit. Keeping the speed up, using Nathan as a marker, although it wasn't intended, but he's a great marker. Getting a nice drive, as you can see we're up, so nice drive out Surtees. Coming up the hill now, revving the car out, trying to get as much speed down the straight. That sector can be a bit tricky because sometimes it says it's quicker, but it's actually not, but you can see I'm gone up even further now, so it was definitely an improvement. Carrying as much speed as possible around this fast right-hander. Into the next corner, Nathan hits the board out of the way. I don't know how he did that, but okay. Actually on the gravel there, so not ideal. It's a pretty scruffy lap to be honest. Luckily, Mark just gets out of the way there. I was a bit nervous when he was sort of sliding towards track. You see, we've caught Nathan a bit. I might actually be in his slipstream a little bit here. I didn't think of this at the time, but it's quite close. You see, he does this weird line, which I don't really agree with, but he does it, and fair enough if he can make it work. But yeah, as we come across the line, it's going to be a 28.4, which isn't the greatest lap to be honest, but I needed to break Nathan's run of poles, and he did improve, but not enough. I managed to get my first pole of the season by one of the slimmer margins. What's that? 0.042 of a second there. But that's important because Brands is really tricky to overtake around. So this is key for my championship to keep him behind, and that was really my only plan. I did not expect to get pole, but now we're on pole, we're going to make the most of it. So off the line we go. I apologise for all this looking back. It doesn't feel like I do it that much when I'm driving, but it turns out I do. But yeah, come through the first corner, keeping an eye on everyone behind me, making sure I don't get mugged into one of the first few corners. And to be honest, first lap, absolutely perfect for me. I even got a bit of a gap, which I was very surprised about. So you can see coming on to lap 2, I believe, if I remember how I've edited this very shortly. Yep. So coming on to lap 2 now, you can see I had a 0.7 lead, which is just at the tip of the slipstream. And I'm on a good lap, well, obviously better than the first lap, but this isn't a bad lap. You can see the time coming down, 0.5, 0.4. Nathan's closed me right in. And once we've crossed the line, I've done 28.5, which is good for a race time, and Nathan's done 28.1, so fastest lap point is out the window, and he's back on me. If this was a different race where it's easy to overtake or whether, I would happily sort of work with Nathan or pull away, but as I don't quite feel like I'm quick enough to keep Nathan keep on his tail, let's say, if he got past. My main strategy here is to keep him behind really, and that was the objective really. So I was very much looking behind me more than I was looking forward. Once again, apologies for all the looking back in a very I don't know what the word is, but very often and repetitively. But at this point here, I'm just driving on the radar, so I've actually got the grass there, just because I'm trying to hold it tight to make sure he doesn't get under me. He didn't get a nose under, so I feel that's fair defending there. And then same here, I bolted for this bit, curb there, just so that he can, because if he got past me in the grass there I would have been fuming. But it's very much white line defending, which I don't like doing, but if it has to be done, it has to be done. And at the moment I think it should be, because if Nathan gets away he can pull away, and I'm a sucker for trying to stick with someone, and if I then make a mistake and spin out, then I've really done myself over. So at the moment, if he overtook me now, he's got the fastest lap point, and he'd get an extra 2 points. I'd leave us 1 point going into the final round, and I'd rather it was a bit more than that. So we're trying to do, this is actually damage limitation despite winning at the moment, surprisingly. But yeah, come to the end of lap 4 now, and Nathan's still putting all the pressure on us. It's quite intense, and I was quite nervous going into this because I don't want to muck up. I wouldn't mind retaining my title. But last season I managed to hold on to the title with a very good final round, or final round bar an extra race that got suspended. But my final round was, I got a double win, which sealed the deal, and Nathan made a couple of mistakes which just put him out of contention for that final race where I'd really just had to drive it home. So going into 30s now, all we're thinking about is just keeping it. So I'm not on bad pace, so I'm going faster than a 28.1 apparently, which is bloody quick. So my pace isn't bad, but I'm still having to defend a heck of a lot. So saying I'm never going to let Nathan have the inside if I can help it. So I'm staying narrow, and also as soon as I'm out of these corners I'm going straight back to the white line again. Always leaving room on the outside though, that's important. Because if I didn't even leave room on the outside, then that's naughty really, because you're completely blocking. Here I'm just taking narrow lines, forcing him to the outside, because this track's so difficult to overtake that if I just keep almost middle ground I'd probably be alright, but I want to make sure he always goes to the outside. And at this point it's actually brought Trev back into the mix, which honestly for me is a good thing, because it takes some of the pressure off me if Nathan has to think about him. As you can see now, Nathan's pulling right alongside me, and Trevor's actually right behind us as well, so he could follow through, and if he gets in front of Nathan I think I can make it a much more simple race for me, because not to disrespect Trev, but I do think I have a little bit more pace over him. I should be able to hold him off a bit better than Nathan, because Nathan is ridiculously quick. And as you can see there, we've just squeezed through, and Trev's come through as well, nearly spin us out, but we're alright, we've survived. But yeah, that was... Now this is really important for the next stage of the race now. With Trevor behind, if we can just keep this, get a few corners under our belt with Trev directly behind, I think we can make a tiny break, just a comfortable break, not this close basically. But for now we're still having to defend, which is frustrating, but I'm sure it's frustrating for people behind, but for me I have to do it, because if I get dropped into that pack I don't know where I'm going to end up. And I say it was so difficult to overtake when we did this in practice at all, so I didn't fancy it, didn't fancy being behind. But yeah, we've held him off, and that should be a bit more comfortable for us now. So yeah, if we have a look at the replay here, oh, as you can see Steve have a huge moment in the background, might have to have a look at that. But yeah, Nathan pinned on the outside, and Trev just follows me through, actually drives into me a little bit, nearly spins us out, but we're alright, we've caught it, and then I hold him off on the inside. But if we just take a look at Steve here, this was after the 200 laps of Nova, and Jesus Christ, his arms are definitely sore after that one if they weren't already. Now you see Nathan's behind, he's fighting Trev once again on the outside, and this has allowed Steve to get right up the inside and demote him down another place, which is ideal for me. As you see, I've pulled away a bit, I've managed to get a comfortable gap now. Not really putting away, but I've got a safety margin. But with Nathan down in 4th now, this is great for my championship. This could be what, 2, 5, another extra 4 points I believe. So that would take us up to 8, and 8, so to be 8 points behind someone in this championship you have to finish quite far down, or quite far away from my rival, which is much safer than having to try and finish right behind him. Coming back to Nathan now, he's still fighting here, fighting hard. Oh, and he's clipped the grass, he's off. That's it, he's off. That is disaster for Nathan. Great for me, But that took a lot of pressure off my shoulders. I was not driving very well up until like the last 5 minutes when that happened, and that has left me off the hook. Trev and Steve started fighting with a few laps to go, which has allowed us to have a bit more of a gap. But if you can look at the pace isn't bad. 28.6s, like 28.8, all within about 2 tenths, apart from the last lap. So realistically, we've done quite well there. And so I just had enough to keep these guys at arm's length, which gave me a nice win. I still need to work on these celebrations. That's awful. Just driving on the grass. What's that all about? Rubbish. Yeah, Nathan back down to be fair to him, he did make a couple of positions up. He's up to 7th. So, but that is very crucial for the championship now, because it's much easier for me to defend this crown now with Nathan that far back than it would have been if I assumed by the start of this round that he would probably get pole clear off, and it would have been 1 point advantage or even less than that maybe. So to be honest, I'm ecstatic with that result. Very happy to see another win, my 4th win of the year. Me and Nathan have taken all the wins this season, and I've pinched one off Steve, as you may have seen in the last round. So yeah, 4 for me, 3 for Nathan. But yeah, and as you see here is the standings just before we go into the final round. So that's 12 points now. That's a big margin, really big margin, considering you can't. Even if I finish last, I suppose you could finish maybe 12th. I think I could probably get away with, or something like that. So that's quite a big margin. But obviously, starting at the back at Monza, anything can happen. Yeah, my teammate up at the front. Also for the team's championship, that's good, because that means if he shows good pace here, we might even clinch the team's championship as well. I think we took the lead of the team's championship in that last race, but not by much. Obviously the Viper, as we've discussed, is great off the line, making mincemeat of Mark and Steve on the way down to the first corner. You can see me and Trev in the Viper as well. We're both getting a good launch. We had actually had a BOP knockdown though recently, but it didn't seem to affect the Viper launch, so that's great. Really careful into T1. Don't want to mess about. I don't mind if I come out of here last, as long as I'm facing the right way. But we managed to just find some clear space to get through. Right behind Mark we're now. We know Mark's a very defensive and aggressive driver, so realistically if we can get past him sooner rather than later and just get our own pace going, it will be much help to us. Actually, Nathan's only just in front of us here. That shows how good the Viper starts and how poor the McLaren is. Going down the outside now, outside of Steve as well. I'm just sort of filling the space so I can get further alongside Mark there. And Mark's got a little bit of cutback, so we're going to defend from him and coincidentally defend from Trevor. And we hold on to that position. Peter off in front of us. Just trying to I'm just trying to not get involved in any accidents here. Bit of lag. Space opens up and we can follow Steve through. Obviously at this point I'd rather push Steve through, because Steve, one, has the pace, and well, two, I can work with him a lot more than I can with the other two guys. Also the McLaren is Nathan's team, so I don't really want to help them out too much. Took that a bit wide there because I didn't quite know what was going on behind me, if they were going to start lunging each other. But yeah, Lexus does not seem to have the straight line speed down at Monza, unfortunately, for Steve and for Tim. But the Viper seems to have good legs on the straight, and the gearings are just right for the chicanes. Second gear in this car is lovely to drive out these chicanes. Just gets great drive, especially on, well, I think probably most of the cars in the field, which is obviously good for me. Yeah, closing in on the slipstream now. This race will be a lot about slipstream. Steve defending, doesn't want to let me have it. The Viper isn't as good in the brakes as the Lexus. You see Steve's coming back on the inside, but he takes me right to the white line. I have to brake and get out of it, so I can sort of tell from that he's not too keen to let me through, which is fair enough. So we're all fighting for different places in the championship, and Steve wants to win as well as I do. So I can tell by that already that he's not too keen on having me in front of him. I do have another look around the outside, but that's more just to drive into some space rather than anything else. Keep me further away from the people behind, so that because it's quite easy to miss your braking point. I do pick up a penalty there, annoyingly. But thankfully the penalties go down here, so it's not too bad. Right, into Ascari, lap 3. Steve making an interesting move on Tim. I think he might have just missed his braking point there a little bit, or maybe Tim broke a little bit earlier and he's expecting, so he had to move into the space. But see, behind the Lexus we're closing right in. Give Steve a little nudge because, say, he's the one that's going to take us to the front here. I do actually give him a little nudge on the braking, but I just give him enough for him. And then driving out, I've got 2 Lexus, so this is really should be easy pickings for me. I just got to pick a side, pick the gap, and we should be all good. Gap's closed on the left, so go to the right. Steve blocks off the right, go for the middle, and then Tim just pinches in, and so does Steve, and they just block me off. Very tactical driving there from those two, but I still managed to get the run past Tim. Once again, the same position as before, and Steve lets off the brake, runs me out wide, which is fair enough. I can tell he doesn't want to give me any extra positions, so slot back in behind Steve. We'll have another. Yeah, you can see how much the Viper sort of gains on the Lexus, because I didn't have the best exit. I think about the move, but it's so narrow into there. I'll keep the place for now. We can make our move later. We've made good progress. We're only 3.6 off the lead, so we're not out of this at all or anything. And this is going to be a big battle all the way to the flag, I reckon. Yeah, coming through the second Lesmo now, getting a nice run. And you see the Viper just has the legs on the Lexus. I think the Lexus is a bit more downforce. It's a bit better in the corners, but the Viper just on the straights. It might be the quickest out of these group of cars. But outside of Ascari, I did not think it was going to happen. But Steve, for some reason, cut the corner. I don't really know why. But as soon as I saw that on the radar, I knew I could turn in a little bit more and just sort of, well, make the move stick even easier. But I was prepared to give him as much space as he needed. But we move on. So, end of lap 5. And notice the Mercedes both going off there. You might notice something happening in the next corner. We've also got Steve on our tail. Steve's coming up in the slipstream now. 10 minutes in, so third of the race done, pretty much. And Steve's looking to the inside, and the Mercs have completely got their braking wrong. Dived at the inside. This car ended up braking. I've got to avoid Sam there. Just as I come to the second part of that chicane. Steve's got the slipstream here, so I can't really do much here, apart from just accept defeat, I guess, and wait to tuck in behind the rest of them. But yeah, I think both the Mercedes there, the white team, had dirty tyres, and they just went for a slightly early braking point, which just wasn't enough with the dirty tyres. Here I'm just trying to find a space to put my car, and Steve goes quite wide, cuts the corner, and I get a nice run right around the outside of him. Give Martin a little push just so I can get clear, and dive up the inside of Martin. That's a very tricky move. You see the Viper moving around all over the place. The back end's always pretty unstable under braking, but we made that move stick, and we go chasing after the top 4 now, or top 3, sorry, with Kira holding on to Nathan, and Sam having a very good drive actually in the Aston, holding on to the front 2. So next lap, and this is what sort of happens at Monza. We get this Constantine effect, which I think Nathan's probably, his car isn't quite as good on the brakes as the Aston, so they're braking a little bit earlier, we're braking a little bit later. And once again here, me and Sam both broke early, but he actually sends Kirif into a lovely move. I don't think Kirif will have any complaints about that, drifting up the inside of Nathan to take P1 at Monza. And we're going to look for the move on Nathan here, because now that I'm here, I'm very relaxed, because I'm right next to Nathan. I'm right near the person that, say, he's going to make the difference in this championship, and right now he can't make any difference if I'm right next to him. So I was happy to fight Nathan a lot. He doesn't give me a lot of room, but he gives me enough, so that's fair enough. I give him a nudge there because I just didn't really think about he was going to come back on track. I put my hazards on, but I don't know if he saw, but that was just apologies, so whoops, didn't mean to ram me. Not that it affected anyone, but you got to be polite-ish. So, end of lap 8 now. Kirif taking an interesting line through Parabolica, and he's actually going to come into the pits. 15 minutes, 37 seconds to go. I'm just happy to stick with Nathan. The more I can pester him, the better. Steve 1.3 behind, so he's not really in this battle at the moment. But Nathan doesn't defend it, interestingly enough. Nice and easy on the brakes. Make that first apex. You see the Viper just rotates quite a lot under braking, and then second gear, drive it out, and you see we just put a few car lengths on Nathan, and it just gives us a nice comfortable run into the next turn, into the second chicane. But I'm not going to defend or anything. I'm not really too bothered about that. It's more just just to drive with Nathan, keep him on his toes, you know, keep the pressure on, because he can't be too happy looking at me in front of him when he's got to beat me. Now he pulls alongside here, right on the inside of me, and he just leaves the nose of his car in there. Sorry, my screen went blank then. Just leaves the nose of his car, then I have to leave him room. Same again here. It's a very odd move. I didn't really understand why he did it like that, but I mean, he's got the position, so I guess that's got to be a good thing. But yeah, it was just awkward the way we were both going around that corner. But so I'm just here to make his life not very easy at the moment, and you can see how much it's costing us time, because Steve is now within the slipstream range. He's actually right on the back of us now. He's only 5/10. Is that I can see in the top left? Yeah. Oh, we can see he's on us now. Which say, fine by me. I do not mind at all. Now this lap I'm going to come in. 14 minutes left to go, so we're over halfway now. So we're very, very in the clear for tyres. So just going to hold it around the outside Nathan here. Hopefully he doesn't shove me off, which he could easily do, to be fair. He holds it tight. I'm just going to do whatever Nathan does. So we all file into the slipstream and into the pit lane. New soft tyres. Kiriv's got an undercut, which the undercut is good around this track. Well, on this game, sorry. And also we were battling, so he will get a good undercut anyway. So there's Kiriv going past now. Yeah. And, well, let battle resume. Punty outside Nathan. More just trying to just make his life awkward, to be honest. Because this Vibe has a little bit more of an edge, I think, at Monza, which obviously is great for me. So I can really comfortably battle at the moment. I think it's probably the best race car here. I think they can probably do better lap times if they hook it up, but definitely race car. This is the one you want in the race. So just sort of occupying space that Nathan wants. I didn't really expect to go around the outside there. It was just to be a nuisance, really. But yeah, coming into first Lesmo. So Nathan's car is a bit better through the corners. Mine's a bit more of a boat through the turns. But yeah, we just got to keep an eye on Steve, because we don't want to end up getting caught out because Steve's on our inside and we're too busy focusing on Nathan. So we have to take a cautious approach to the overtaking. Once again, down the outside. This is sort of the Viper's. The Viper's good on the straight. Just occupying the space, letting Nathan out the corner. He actually ghosted there. He did run it a bit wide, which is why he sort of went through me. If he had his car not ghosted and he actually held the line, it would have looked fine. It's only because he'd sort of ghosted he went through us. But yeah, down the outside, Kiriv's now 3 seconds in front, so he's loving life. Obviously, Kiriv's going to be... I mean, we can't win this because Kiriv's in front of us and we haven't actually overtaken him properly all season. So there's no way we're getting past him, as far as I'm concerned. So may as well fight for second. And there you see Nathan held us out to dry there. Steve got through, but I'm pretty happy with my position at the moment. Do have a little look here. I don't want to help him, so I lift off, sit behind, just occupy the spaces, try and find a nice space for me to fit a Viper. See Steve get a little twitch. I think the Lexus is a bit twitch under power, whereas my Viper can really just drive off those corners in second gear really nicely. Get a nice run for parabolic, and I do want to keep harassing Nathan in particular though, so I do want to really be in front of Steve here. And he leaves the door open on the outside, which is the inside of this corner, and we're going to go for it. And to be honest, I was pretty happy with that. I don't know I could have made that much cleaner. Didn't run wide, didn't overshoot, didn't nudge anyone, just took the apexes, and it's quite tricky, especially with the curbs, to not get a penalty and also not to spin out, so I'm very happy with that. And so we're just on the edge of Nathan's slipstream here. You can see I'm 0.7, 0.8, 0.7. Yeah, come to start lap 12. If you look on the radar, just going to get a punt right round. I just hold on to it. Not sure how I held on to that, but we got some proper sideways there. If the Viper's not bad enough at handbrake turning into corners, this will show you. Just a little nudge and it just sends me right around, tyre smoke and all sorts. He did apologise as soon as it happened. He was in the chat when I was racing, so that was fine. If I'd gone round, I probably would have been more pissed, but it was fine. Now this was crucial actually. Nathan had caught up to Kira for slipstream, he was just in it, and then he made a mistake coming out of Ascario, which you saw there, and that brought me back into his slipstream and brought him out of Kira, so we then caught right back up again. Because after that little drifting session with Trev, I was quite a bit out of the slipstream. I had the same sort of pace as Nathan, but I just couldn't get back in the slipstream. Whereas now, Nathan's not quite in it. He's literally a second off Kirif now. So we've put the tow on him, and he's not got any tow to help him. So looking left or right, dummy to the left, go to the right. He moves quite late, and I actually jam on the brakes there. I didn't really want to hit him or anything. So that was a bit of a late move, I'd say, but I mean, it wasn't that bad, but I did have to jump on the brakes quite hard to not hit him. But yeah, nice drive again at the first chicane. Driving onto the back of Nathan again. Just really trying to make a nuisance of ourselves almost. Nothing dirty, just I'm just racing him, that's all it is. We've caught right up to Kirif now. I think we're definitely not far from the tow now. If we have a good couple of corners here, we'll be pulling right back up to Kirif for the race lead with 3 minutes 50 to go. So he held on for quite a long time actually. He had really good pace up front. There really wasn't much in it, so a few more attempts every other lap would have probably got Kirif out of the slipstream range for at least the for the penultimate lap. But unfortunately it's not going to be the case. It's not going to be as easy for him. Come through a sky now, you can see now we're all together now. Even Steve behind us is 2 tenths behind me, so we're all within a second now. Going into the penultimate lap at Monza, which is just awesome really. Actually giving Nathan a push here because I'm feeling a win now. Now that we've caught up again, because honestly I'd settled for wherever we were going to be in our battle, but now that the win was so close, and no one done a double yet this season. I was the only one to do it last season, so I was quite keen on maybe if we could get a win, I'd go for it. Kirif defending heavily here into the penultimate lap. I get the slipstream of Nathan, and this might actually be the moment we finally pass Kirif on track with no incidents of any sorts. I mean, we pretty much did at Barcelona, but we've done it. That's amazing. Because at Barcelona we did have a bit of he kept on slightly crashing into me, but we've done it now. So that's the achievement now. We've finally passed Kirif. Now we can really claim ourselves as potentially a champion in this series. So outside of Nathan, he's keeping us right on that white line. Don't want to give us any more room than we need. Fair play. He's quite nervous when you're on the white line, but it's doable. So through the Lesmos, Nathan's car just turns a bit better. I'm a bit more understeery with this car, so I have to sort of wait for it to get going, whereas Nathan can probably really muscle it through the corners a bit better. But once again, we're close enough on the straight now that we can use the Viper's power down the outside of Ascari. We've already done the move on Super GT. Can we do it on Nathan? We're gonna try. And he does actually brake a little bit early, and we can. He didn't make it easy, but we did manage it. It's not often you pass around the outside of Ascari, so to get 2 in one race is not bad. Although you could argue he's probably letting us through because he wants the slipstream for the final lap, which is also very fair. But I remember what he did earlier on, where he gave me a little bit of a shoulder at the outside of the track, so we're going to come through here. We're just going to lean a little bit. He's not actually alongside me, to be fair. I just run to the outside of the circuit, and he tries to go around the outside, which I don't think was the best move, to be fair. But now onto the final lap, neck and neck with Steve. Sardinia memories coming back. The Viper, because he has a little bit more power. We just start putting ahead of Steve again. And on the brakes, I brake as late as I dare. Nathan comes across, gives a little nudge, and we're drifting again through the first sector. What? Power sliding it out, leaving smoke in their windscreens as we somehow held onto the lead for all that. No idea how. But now we've got another chicane of Monza. Got to hold on to this lead. We're on for a double win here, which is, say, it's not easy because you win the first race, start in the back of the next race. And that's Kirif behind, I think, who's lunged Steve and caused all sorts of problems. Nathan's back in second now, so I've really got to push on here just in case Nathan can catch up to us. Because because there's a little bit of a gap now. I run a bit wide into there. Hopefully Nathan's done the same. Don't really want him to keep up with me if I can. And looking behind, Steve behind us, and Nathan's off. Nathan's down to 4th. So that really is, on this final lap right now, what has he done? It seems to be all his own doing. He might have followed me off there, because I went a bit wide, and I think he's probably just gone that tiny bit wide and been dragged in by the gravel. He's not really rejoined in the best place there. Kirov's really had nowhere to go, so that's unlucky for Nathan. But for us, it is definitely much better as we're coming through to the final corner at Parabolica to take, once again, Season 2 of Club 100. We're going to win the race, win both races of the round, and take the championship. That's not a bad way to win it, is it? But did we do the teams? Well, with Nathan struggling right at the end there, we may have done a double. And here's a slow-mo of that final manoeuvre. Look at that, boot in the power, drifting out of the final turn, all the chaos behind. But we have come out on top. From the back to the front. That is an epic achievement. I say it's been... And say here's the final stands now. So I actually ended up being with Nathan by 19 points. And he was only 1 point ahead of Steve by the end of it. And in the Teams Championship, 6 points we win over SR Down, which is Nathan's team. So that is an ideal end to the season as I celebrate at Monza doing some lovely donuts. You've got to have some donuts, haven't you? Best way to finish a race. But yeah, that has been my Club 100 season in esports. Hope you've enjoyed it. I definitely have. And I can't wait for Season 3.